morning, good evening, or good night, folks. I'm your host, Simon Redhand, and welcome to Gaming Redhanded. They've just went ahead and dropped some new updates on the new scenario starting up, the PvP Primeverse scenario, as well as some information on the Battle Pass, the new dev talk. 8 couches behind us, so you know what time it is. We're about to go through and break down these notes. I didn't read them yet. Figured I would just go through them at the same time on the video, and we'll go through it together and see if there's any new news. For those of you curious about why I do it this way, I'm a Path of Exile player. I read patch notes. I enjoy patch notes. I enjoy looking at detailed changes. I expect dev teams to actually go through and give out as much information as possible when they make changes to the game, and I really appreciate when they explain the mindset behind it. Now, these aren't patch notes. This is a conversation about the Battle Pass. This says it came out September 20th, but I don't recall seeing this. I'm on the Discord quite often. I'm very active on the Discord, and this just showed up. They had this interview, and I guess they finally presented it. This just talks about the Battle Pass being broken into 2 phases. I don't know why they chose to do 2 phases. The time periods seem kind of random. Each phase is 2 months long, so that means each Battle Pass technically runs for 4 months. They say that the Battle Pass carries over and overlaps through scenarios, and then you can start on one scenario and carry over to the next scenario because it's completely independent. Honestly, if this is super convoluted for no reason, each Battle Pass should just run the length of the scenario. There's no point of having them as run 4 months long. Battle Pass Part 1 and Part 2, and like what is the point? That's the only thing in this thing worth reading. There's no other message in here. It just talks about the fact that the Battle Pass is convoluted for no reason. You don't have to worry about progress. The only thing that matters is the start date and the end date for each phases. We are currently on phase 2, the Battle Pass, which ends November 7th, and then I guess they'll introduce another convoluted Battle Pass mechanic. I don't understand why they're doing it this way. I feel like someone over there on the team just wants to make their life complicated for no reason. This should literally just be, it starts at the beginning of a scenario, ends at the beginning, ends at the end of the scenario, then a new one starts up. I don't get why it doesn't start at the same time as the scenario. It starts halfway through the scenario. It doesn't follow the length of the scenario. And then for some goddamn reason, it's 4 months long. Anyway, we're going to move on to the thing that I actually care about reading right now. And it's the new scenario, the Primeverse Clash. Now, they gave us a bit of details on the patch on the during the dev live stream. They didn't give us any patch notes. It was a presentation of sorts. So I'm going to go look through this, kind of read through this point by point and kind of talk about it as the points come up. Well, if you don't know, the scenario is going to be splitting the server into factions, kind of similar to the way the World of Warcraft does the Horde-verse Alliance. So players are going to sign up for a server, and then right from the beginning, they're going to choose whether they're going to join Mayfly or Rosetta. And then from there, you're basically to be denoted into the 2 factions. From what I understand, the Mayfly section is currently like near Deadsville area, and then the Rosetta faction section is like near Whitecliff area of the map. Scenario overview: join either the Mayfly or Rosetta. Use combat construction and all available strategies to capture and secure prism deviations in the contested area and win the scenario for your faction. Players can choose any faction and fight for prism deviations in the contested area. Prism deviations can now be obtained from public crisis events, guaranteed, wilderness gathering, low chance, or fishing, low chance. So your main place of getting these are going to be doing the events: Dig to Hell, Operation Chiron, Where Does the Disco Go, things like that. I have a video on this subject, how to do this correctly. I remember what they show on the picture here. I believe the Rosetta area is up here near Whitecliff. The Mayfly area is around here near Deadsville. I don't know what the central safe zone is supposed to look like, but I'm going to imagine the middle of the map is going to be contested area, because you have Mayflies here, Rosetta here, and then any issues happening here is going to be where all the combat's taking place, right? But I'm going to imagine how the map is set up, that from levels like maybe 10 to 20 or 30 or so is going to be safe. Then when you end game, you're going to have to interact with each other in the middle. Available content, it's going to be Mist Zone, Dark Side, Dig to Hell, Workshop, Hell's Moving House, Cargo Conquest, and Securement Silo. Cargo Conquest is PvP, Hell's Moving House, you should know, Dig to Hell and Dark Side are both events, and then the Workshop is we use the oil processing tickets for. Milestone number 1, Sanctuary from midnight to 12 daily. Buildings are under protection and take 70% less damage from players. Milestone number 2, Turning Point prism deviations will descend upon during public crisis events in contested areas. Refreshes from midnight to 6. So I think that's noon. That's noon to 6. Maximum number of deviations increased by 50 per refresh, which is stackable. Just to kind of summarize that, during the first week, we have access to a small selection of zones here. You're not going to be able to get it. Well, you can still get it raid overnight because it says you have protection from midnight to 12. Base raiding overnight is probably one of the most disgusting things about survival PvP. It's why most people don't like doing it. The idea that your base is still vulnerable when you're not able to protect it, I don't know what value that adds to the game. People seem to like that. Most PvEers don't like it. That's why we don't do that shit. So we're already forced to come over here, and they still won't commit to just turning off offline raiding. So you're gonna have to deal with the fact that your base can still get raided overnight. 70% less damage from players doesn't really matter because, well, you're not online. We have all the time in the world to take your shit. So that's all that comes down to. Anyway, milestone number 2 is that deviations will show up during public crisis events. I don't know what that looks like. Does it look like us just capturing balls during public crisis events? And while this is happening, are public crisis events just going to be war zones? Like, while we're trying to do Operation Chiron, we're going to be fighting the vultures and other players while we're trying to secure the point, and then deviations start showing up, and then we keep killing each other back and forth. That's going to be, I don't know, I guess that's the idea. Turning point, deviations will descend during a public crisis event, refreshes during from noon to 6, and it says the maximum number of deviations increased by 50 per refresh. So does that mean that you can only get 50 prism deviations every 6 hours? And then it's like every 6 hours, it seems like only 6 hours a day you can get them, and then it's kind of like turned off for the rest of that time, because that's what that sounds like. It's reading like. Apologize for interrupting the video, but we do need to appease the almighty algorithms. Please like the video, and if you like the channel and want to support me on this journey, please subscribe. It's gonna be easier to see once it gets active. Phase 2, Clash of Blackville, uncertainty looms again. The battlefield grows tense. Put aside your compassion for the enemy. Blah blah blah. Lore. This one lasts 7 days. The available regions are going to be Western Blackville. And then we get access to Paradise Lost, Operation Chiron, and hard difficulty servers. So we're still doing the difficulty lockouts. They need to get rid of that shit for the winter season. Milestone number 1, Sanctuary from midnight to 12 daily still. 70% damage, so that's still there. Milestone number 2 is still the same. Berserkosaurus Rex will now start showing up. So Berserkosaurus Rex doesn't start showing up until phase 2. I guess for the phase 1, you only have access to stuff like the Electric Eel and Dr. Teddy, as they showed the 10-point deviants, just to get your feet wet, get used to how it works. And then week 2 starts, and then you get access to Berserkosaurus Rex. Also number 3, turning point. If the trailing faction has less than 40% prism energy, it gains a buff that increases deviation securement speed by 20%. So the losing faction gets a little bit of a bonus, a little bit of help and assistance to get their securement up, I guess, to keep it more competitive. That's not bad. I'm not really against that. Phase 3, The Last Stand. The conflict will end at lore. RP. This also lasts 7 days. Contested areas of Eastern Backwells will be open. So basically the entirety of the map is now open now in phase 3. Manibus is showing up. Sproutlet Conquest, Pro difficulty dungeons. Milestone 1 is still the same. Milestone 2 is still the same, but now Radiant 1 is going to be showing up. The Radiant 1 refreshes once every 48 hours. I think that was the same for Berserkosaurus. Yeah. Berserkosaurus and Radiant 1 are every other day. This is only 7 days long. That means you're only going to get at most 3 of them a week. That's wild. I really hope players don't get to keep these, because it's going to irritate me that you have this exclusive deviant that takes 2 hours to capture, and it's only going to show up 3 times. So you only have 6 shots at getting this thing before the thing's all over. Jeez. Let's see. I think that's it. I think that's all that's in there. Same. Turning point 3 is still the same. All times are server time. We don't know what server time actually is, though. That's not written anywhere. Combat environment optimizations, PvP stat adjustment mechanism. Many metas have reported that the stat gaps are having too much impact on PvP outcomes, making them hesitant to participate in PvP scenarios. After careful consideration, we hope to keep that stat gap between players with a reasonable range to provide better experience for everyone. We will be introducing a PvP stat adjustment mechanism for Primeverse Clash that will keep power differences in check while maintaining a unique characteristics of builds and counterplay mechanics. This adjustment is exclusive to Primeverse Clash scenario. We will refine and iterate it based on player feedback and performance data. This sounds like resilience in WoW. It sounds like a lot of games take this approach. It's actually something I suggested on Discord, because you need to be able to balance PvP without screwing up PvE, and a PvP stat is needed to do that. What I don't like so far is that it's being done through this PvP stat that we don't know about yet. They haven't explained it yet, and I don't know if these guys are capable of balancing these stats correctly. So we'll have to wait and see how this turns out. But this is a step in the right direction in terms of managing PvP, because that way you don't have to nerf weapons and armor sets in order to deal with them being out of control. You can just adjust this stat. However, we need more details on how this stat actually works. The prize pool in each scenario has always been a key focus for metas. We will be providing details about the prize pools for Prismverse's Clash scenario, which opens on the September 26th. 2 new prize pools are now available in the Prismverse Clash scenario: Parting Bullet and Desert Gunslinger. You can acquire the legendary blueprint Memento and from the Parting Bullet pool, and the legendary blueprint Desert Dusk Mask, along with the Stormweaver coat, Stormweaver pants, to blah blah blah. So what they're introducing, they're not new guns, they're basically letting you get Memento and letting you get Stormweaver set. So for those who don't know what Memento is, it's actually a pretty cool gun. This is the gun I did want to start messing with, so I might go through and get this banner when it shows up. This is hits grant 36% chance to trigger Fast Gunner. Chances double when weak point is hit, and Fast Gunner's trigger 1 bullet will be reloaded into your magazine. Each shot has a 40% chance to consume 1 more bullet. When extra bullets are consumed, attack plus 80%. This is a burst cannon, right? If you get this to proc, it can do some crazy damage, right? This is actually a pretty nice gun. This can do some high burst if you build it correctly. This is a gun I am interested in for a pure weapon damage build, so I definitely will check it out. And then they're going to be handing out the Stormweaver set here, right? So the Stormweaver set is reduced stamina cost 20%, magazine capacity plus 15%, taking damage grants a stack of powered armor, damage reduction plus 4% per 10 seconds, effect stacks 6 times. Rolling consumes 3 stacks of powered armor and triggers an explosion that knocks back surrounding enemies. For each enemy hit, 5% up to 20% HP is restored. The interesting stat, I am interested in Stormweaver set. I do want to use it for a bit for a little tank build here. I don't know how it plays out. It just sounds like a funny effect here, but I don't know if we can take this set seriously or not. I honestly thought they were going to give out the Savior set for PvP because the Savior set is much more PvP oriented. So the Savior set is over here, and the Savior set gives you, after using an activator, movement speed plus 20%, all damage plus 20%, and cloak for 2 seconds, 20% damage reduction on torso and limbs. On the 3-piece bonus, when HP is below 30%, automatically use the least potent activate in your backpack. The 2-piece bonus is when HP is above 70%, weapon and status damage plus 10%. This set is very strong. It's supposed to be a support set, but it's still very strong. So I thought this was going to be the set they're going to hand out for the PvP, but this is the set, if you're going to play on this scenario, that you should probably be going towards getting. Then, of course, another loot box coming in. Car, this bomber jacket, vest setup here, whatever this crap is. Bunch of colors of this, bunch of ugly weapon skins again, because for some reason, they just can't give you a black gun. It's got to be some tie-dyed Gotham City reject kit setup, right? Anyway, $200, all right? Loot crate, $200. You want to spend $200 on a loot crate? There you go. Here's your gambling hit there. So far, I need actual detailed patch notes. I was kind of hoping for a new blueprint altogether. Instead, we just got a rejiggering of the stuff we already got. I need details on what this new PvP stats are actually going to look like. While I don't do build videos right now, I do understand stats, and I think depending on how they do this could be very good for PvP balance going forward, depending on how they do it, right? So there are some interesting things here. The whole thing about the deviations kind of concerns me. I don't like that they refresh every 48 hours for the Berserkosaurus Rex and the Radiant one. They have not made it clear on whether or not you get to keep these deviants, because you do have to secure them. Are they yours? Do they turn into dust after you secure them? I don't know how it works. I don't like that they won't commit to this not allowing offline base raiding, because this is nothing. If it takes 100 grenades to break your wall down when you're not online, doesn't matter. So we'll see. Well, I don't like PvP. I'm going to do this event because I will not leave Starcrom behind. It's only 19 days, and I'm quite confident that I'll be able to get that Starcrom being rewarded here. I don't care about ranking. I don't even care about leaving with a deviant, right? Because I've seen that screenshot, and it seems like the Radiant one and the Berserkosaurus Rex are just renamed Shephosaurus and By the Wind. They have the exact same effects. They didn't even have a unique trait, so I don't get one when the server ends. I don't care. My current goal for this PvP scenario is to lead with a Dr. Teddy that is at least 4/4 or higher, and to lead with the pup, and I think that's the only 2 PvP deviants I actually care about having on the way out the door. Me, like everybody else, I'm waiting to see the winter scenario. I want to see if they're taking into account any of these surveys they've gotten. I want to see what feedback they've gotten from the community that they're going to be taking into account, what changes they're going to be making, how they're going to manage the PvE aspect going forward. A lot of concerns there. Like right now, there's hints of things that are still happening that I don't really like. Like I don't like the fact that they're still gating hard mode and pro mode behind these weekly phases. We're now 3 months in now. We're on season 3, technically. Who is this for? Which player still needs to be gated behind weekly lockouts before they can go to a hard mode? We have access to mods. Like I'm bringing over almost a full set of mods for my set. I already know I'm doing Power Surge when this Primeverse starts up. I already know I'm using my corrosion shotgun. I have most of the mods already. They're not perfectly rolled, but they're rolled well enough. Why am I not allowed to just jump right in hard mode? Most of my gear is 3-star. Who is this for? What is the idea behind this? They're doing these weekly phases where you can take your blueprints back with you. You can take your mods with you. You can take everything you've unlocked before with you. You can even take calibrations with you if you feel like it. So who is it for that they keep locking off the difficulty and what content you can access based on the phases? Are they not sitting down and talking to each other and realizing that this is a really foolish thing to be doing? There's no need for this. You should have full access to all the dungeon difficulties on week 1. Even if you lock the dungeons off, why am I not allowed to do pro mode silo immediately? Why is that being locked off? I can hit level 50 in 4 hours, right? And then when I hit level 50, the only thing gating me from making my gear is me grinding the materials out. Nothing else is stopping me because I already have all the gear. So there's no real reason for this. So these are changes I'm hoping to see in the winter season. I'm hoping to see them actually put in some thought behind these weekly phases, controllers, whether or not they're still going to be in the game or not, how you're going to acquire gear, because right now the wish machines are ranked in and of itself. Like I severely despise the entire mechanic of it. How are we going to deal with mods? Because as long as controllers are so limited, you can't really farm mods. Mods right now are 5 to 1. You need a lot of controllers to get a lot of mods. You need a lot of mods to do what you need to do for your gear, because it takes a lot of breaking down, crafting, RNG, all that stuff's in play. So it's very difficult to get good mods without burning a lot of controllers, but then you can't get controllers because you're limited to 56 controllers a day. I need to see a lot of changes going forward. Like, I like this game a lot. I've got over 700 hours on this game. I don't see me playing the winter season if they don't make some drastic changes to how they handle the weekly phases and the controllers and the loot distribution. I think that's it. So that's gonna be it for me, guys. That's more of a rant video. I'm gonna have a few of those rant videos coming up. I have a lot of strong feelings about certain content. I'm just not out here making helpful guides. I'm looking forward to trying this new scenario out. I'm not looking forward to PvP, but I am looking forward to getting some more StarCrom, getting some more blueprints, running through both those banners, and making my character stronger in preparation for what I actually want to play, which is the next PvE scenario. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what they plan on doing with the PvE scenario itself. That's gonna be it for today, guys. Have yourselves a good morning. And if this is the only video you watching me today, a good afternoon or a good night.